Let me tell you something about success that most people don't want to admit. The biggest reason people don't move forward isn't because they're lazy. It isn't because they're not smart enough. And it isn't because life is unfair. Though sometimes it feels that way. The biggest reason people stay stuck is because they have no clarity. They don't know what they want. And if you don't know what you want, the world will give you anything. And usually, it ain't what you're looking for. Think about it. If I asked you right now, then, where do you want to be 6 months from now? Most people would say something vague like, I want to be happy, or I want to be successful, or I just want things to be better. But listen closely. Vague goals create vague results. If you don't have a target, you're just shooting arrows in the dark, hoping you hit something. And let me promise you, hope is not a strategy. Clarity is power. When you can see the picture of your future in detail, when you can describe it, feel it, even smell it, that's when you start moving with a purpose. That's when life bends to your decisions instead of just tossing you around like a leaf in the wind. Clarity doesn't come by accident. You don't just wake up one morning with a perfectly clear vision of your life. You've got to stop. You've got to sit down. You've got to reflect and ask yourself some tough questions. Who I want to be in 6 months? What do I want to look like physically, mentally, spiritually, financially? How do I want people to describe me 6 months from now? Do I want to be more disciplined? Do I want to be more confident? Do I want to have started a business, written a book, changed my health, rebuilt my relationships? See, we live in a world full of distractions. Every scroll on your phone pulls you in another direction. Every commercial, every voice, everyone on the internet is trying to tell you what your life should look like. And if you're not careful, you start living other people's vision instead of your own. That's why the first month of this 6-month plan has nothing to do with running faster or working harder. It's about sitting still long enough to get clear. Because once you're clear, discipline becomes easier. Once you're clear, sacrifice makes sense. You'll start saying no to things you used to say yes to, not because someone forced you, but because you finally understand where you're going. Clarity creates boundaries, and boundaries protect your future. Let me break it down for you. Imagine you're driving a car in the middle of the night with fog so thick you can barely see the road. What happens? You move slow. You hesitate. You're scared of making the wrong turn. But when the fog clears and the road is visible, what do? You hit the gas. You speed up. That's the difference clarity makes in your life. Without it, you're hesitant, cautious, second-guessing. With it, you move with confidence and urgency. Now, here's the part most people skip. Clarity is not just about knowing what you want. It's also about knowing what you don't want. Because sometimes your vision is buried under years of things that don't serve you. Old habits. You've got environments, old relationships. You've got to look at your life honestly and say, that version of me cannot come with me 6 months from now, and that's not easy. It hurts to admit that some things you've been holding on to are actually weighing you down. But clarity is ruthless like that. It cuts through the noise and demands you to choose. And let me give you this truth: your future self is depending on the decisions you make right now. 6 months from today, you're going to meet a version of yourself, and that person is either going to thank you for being clear and intentional, or they're going to resent you for being distracted and lost. Which one do you want it to be? Clarity also requires honesty. See, you can fool the world, but you can't fool yourself. Deep down, Jumos, you already know what you want. You've just been too afraid to say it out loud. Maybe because you think it's too big, or people will laugh at you, or you don't believe you deserve it. But let me tell you, the moment you give yourself permission to be clearer about your dream, that's the moment your life starts to change. Don't water it down to make other people comfortable. Don't shrink it to fit into someone else's vision. Write it down, speak it out, see it in your mind, and own it. Here's a practical step you can take right now. Before you go to bed tonight, write down the top 3 things you want to achieve in the next 6 months. Don't write a whole book, just 3 things. Then underneath each one, write why it matters. Not just the what, but the why. Because clarity without purpose is still weak. But when you tie your vision to a deep reason, your family, your freedom, your health, and on faith, that's when it sticks. And don't stop there. Create a picture in your mind so vivid that it feels real. If your goal is to get fit, don't just say, I want to lose weight. See yourself in that mirror 6 months from now, confident, strong, proud. If your goal is financial, don't just say, I want to make more money. See yourself paying off debt, building savings, giving generously, living stress. That mental picture becomes the fuel. Remember this: clarity doesn't guarantee success. Without it, success is impossible. Every successful person you admire got clear first. Hands, they had a vision of the life they wanted long before the world saw it. They didn't wait for permission. They decided. And decision is the first step toward destiny. So, if you want to transform your life in 6 months, start here. Not with hustle, not with grind, not with working 20 hours a day. Start with clarity. Because when you know exactly what you're chasing, the chase itself becomes a joy. And I'll leave you with this: Your future is waiting, but it won't wait forever. The fog in your life won't clear until you decide to clear it. 6 months from now, you can either be in the same place, telling the same story, or you can be living a life that today feels almost unrecognizable. The choice is yours. Clarity creates power. Power creates action. Action creates transformation. So decide today, who are you going to be 6 months from now? Now, once you've got clarity, once you know exactly what you're chasing, here comes the part separates the dreamers from the doers. Doers. And it ain't glamorous. It ain't sexy. But it's the truth. Consistency. Listen. I don't care how clear your vision is. If you're not consistent, if you don't show up day after day, that vision is just a wish. Dreams without consistency are like seeds that never get watered. They never grow, no matter how much potential they carry. You've probably heard people say, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. I'll go even further. Consistency beats intensity, because anybody can be intense for a day. Anybody can go to the gym on January 1st, work out until they can't feel their arms. Anybody can wake up at 5 a.m. for a week and post motivational quotes online. But the real winners, the people who transform their lives, are the ones who keep showing up when nobody's watching, when nobody's clapping, when the feeling is gone and only discipline is left. And here's the psychology behind it. Your brain is wired to conserve energy. It doesn't want you doing hard things every day. That's why you'll always feel resistance when you try to build a new habit. But consistency rewires your brain. Every time you repeat an action, you carve a groove into your mind, and eventually that action becomes automatic. That's why successful people don't seem like they're working harder than everybody else. They've trained themselves so that discipline is no longer a struggle. It's just who they are. Now let me tell you something real. Most people overestimate what they can do in a day, and they underestimate what they can do in 6 months. They burn out trying to change everything overnight. But consistency says, I don't need to change everything today. Just need to do something today. You don't need to run a marathon right now. Just walk a mile every day. You don't need to save $100,000 tomorrow. Just put away a little each week. That little stack, that little step, compounded over 6 months, that's momentum. Think of it like pushing a car. At first, it's heavy. At first, you're sweating, straining, wondering if it's even possible. But once you get it rolling, momentum does half the work for you. Consistency is what gets that car moving, and momentum is what keeps it going. Let me add this. Consistency doesn't mean perfection. Too many people quit because they miss a day or they stumble once. They think, well, I messed up, so I might as well stop. That's not how it works. If you missed a day, pick it back up tomorrow. If you fell off for a week, start again next week. Consistency is about the pattern, not the perfection. Don't let one failure erase 6 months of progress. There's a philosophy that says, we are what we repeatedly do. That means excellence isn't an act, it's a habit. Your life is a reflection of your patterns, not your intentions. People don't judge you by what you say you're going to do. They judge you by what you actually do. And deep down, you judge yourself the same way. If you want more confidence, it doesn't come from positive affirmations alone. Confidence comes from keeping promises to yourself over and over until you trust your own word. Now, I know some of you are thinking, but what if I don't feel motivated? And here's the truth, you won't. Motivation is unreliable. If you wait till you feel motivated to be consistent, you'll never change. But if you choose to be consistent, motivation will eventually follow. You don't get inspired and then act. You act, and then inspiration catches up. You've got to learn how to outlast your emotions, because feelings change, but commitment doesn't. Kissed. Some days you'll feel like it, some days you won't, but discipline is doing it anyway. And when you string those days together, something magical happens. You build momentum. Momentum is powerful. Momentum is when the universe seems to conspire in your favor. Doors open. Opportunities come. People notice. But none of that shows up until you've been consistent long enough to prove you're serious. See, God, the universe, whatever you believe in, it's not going to hand you blessings if you're not consistent. Why would it? If you can't handle showing up daily for yourself, how will you handle the bigger opportunities that come with success? Let me share a truth that changed my life. Success is rented, and the rent is due every day. You don't pay the price once and get to coast. You pay it every morning when you wake up and decide to show up again. Consistency is paying that rent. The people who keep paying it are the ones who eventually live in houses that others only dream about. So here's what I want you to do in the next stage of this 6-month plan. Stop worrying about the end result so much. Just focus on the daily payment. Focus building streaks. Start small if you have to. Maybe it's reading 10 pages every day. Maybe it's saving $5 a day. Maybe it's doing 10 push-ups. Whatever it is, commit to it. Because once you prove to yourself that you can be consistent in one thing, you'll find it easier to be consistent in other things. Discipline spreads, and don't underestimate the silent power of momentum. At first, people may not notice. Your friends might laugh at you. They might say, "Why are you wasting your time? Why are you trying so hard?" But give it 3 months, 6 months, and those same people will look at you differently. They'll ask, How did you do it? And the answer will be simple. I stayed consistent when you didn't. So don't chase motivation. Chase momentum. Don't chase perfection. Chase patterns. Don't chase approval. Chase discipline. Because the truth is, consistency doesn't just build results, it builds you. It turns you into someone who trusts themselves, someone who can handle the weight of bigger blessings. And I'll leave you with this. Your future doesn't belong to the person who dreams the biggest or even the one who starts the fastest. It belongs to the one who refuses to stop showing up. 6 months from now, your life will not be transformed because of one huge day of effort. It will be transformed because of 6 months of quiet, daily, often boring consistency. Consistency builds momentum. Momentum changes everything. So, the question is simple: are you willing to keep showing up long enough to find out who you could become? Now we've talked about clarity. We've talked about consistency. But there's one more piece of this puzzle. There's one more piece of this puzzle. And it's the piece most people never put in place. It's the part where you stop talking, stop planning, stop preparing, and start doing. Because clarity without consistency is just daydreaming. Consistency without action is just busy work. But when you add action to the mix, that's when everything changes. That's when transformation becomes real. Here's the truth: nothing happens until you move. You can write down the clearest goals in the world. You can build the most disciplined routine. But if you never step out, and take action, your life will look the same 6 months from now. And the sad part is, a lot of people stay stuck in that stage. They keep reading books. They keep watching motivational videos. They keep making plans, but they never execute. And execution is the only bridge between your vision and your reality. Let me tell you what action really is. Action is courage in motion. Action is faith with feet. Action is saying, I may not have it all figured out, but I'm willing to take the next step. Because the truth is, you'll never feel fully ready. You'll never have the perfect plan. If you're waiting for perfect, you'll be waiting forever. The people who succeed are not the ones with a perfect plan. They're the ones who started moving and figured it out along the way. Think about this. You can't steer a parked car. You can sit behind the wheel, turn it left, turn it right, honk the horn, but until you hit the gas, you're not going anywhere. Life works the same way. Once you start moving, once you take action, opportunities show up, doors open, adjustments can be made. But none of that happens if you never put the car in drive. Now, I get it. Action is scary. Action makes you vulnerable to failure, to embarrassment, to criticism. But here's the philosophy I want you to remember. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's the process of success. You can't get to the mountaintop without stumbling on the way up. You can't master a skill without making mistakes. Every success story you admire is built on a foundation of action that didn't always go right, but still moved forward. And here's where psychology comes in. When you take action, even small action, your brain registers progress. It releases dopamine, the chemical of reward and motivation. That's why action creates confidence, not the other way around. People think, I'll act when I feel confident, but confidence doesn't come first. Confidence is the result of acting, of proving to yourself that you're capable. So, if you want a transformed life in 6 months, don't just plan it, live it. Start writing that book today. Make that phone call today. Sign up for that class today. Launch that business idea today. Don't worry about whether it's perfect. Don't worry about whether people will laugh. Because at the end of the day, the critics don't pay your bills, and the critics don't have to live your life. You do. And let me add this. Action is what separates the talkers from the doers. The world is full of people who say, one day I'll do this. One day I'll start that. But one day is code for never. If you're always talking about what you're going to do and never doing it, you're living in fantasy. Action turns one day into day one. And don't underestimate the compound power of small action. You don't need to change your whole life in one giant leap. You just need to take one consistent step in the right direction. That step leads to another, and another, until momentum carries you further than you ever imagined. The book gets written one page at a time. The body gets transformed one workout at a time. The business gets built one customer at a time. But it all begins with that first action. Now, here's the other side of this. Without action, fear grows. The longer you wait to start, the bigger the monster in your mind becomes. But when you act, the monster shrinks. Action is the antidote to fear. Every time you move, you prove to yourself that fear is a liar. And the more you move, the braver you become. Some of you already know what you need to do. You've known for a while. You don't need another book, another podcast, another motivational speech. You need to do it. You need to hit publish. Pick up the phone, send the application, walk into the gym. Because no amount of thinking will replace the growth that happens when you act. And here's something I learned. Nobody gets remembered for what they were planning to do. Nobody writes history books about intentions. History remembers the people who acted, who stepped out, who risked something. 6 months from now, you could be telling the story of how you finally took action, or you could be making excuses about why you didn't. The difference between those two stories is one decision: act or don't act. And action doesn't just transform your results, It transforms your identity. When you act, you stop seeing yourself as a dreamer and start seeing yourself as a doer. And when that identity shifts, your life shifts, you start carrying yourself differently. You start attracting different opportunities because the world responds to people who move. So if you want to transform your life with this 6, don't just dream with clarity. Don't just build consistency. Step out. Take that imperfect, scary, uncertain action. Do it messy. Do it afraid. Do it without applause. But do it. Because the world doesn't reward the intention. It rewards the execution. And I'll close with this thought. Your life 6 months from now is being built today. Not in your imagination, not in your plans, but in your actions. Every step you take is shaping the person you're becoming. And 6 months from now, when you look in the mirror, you'll see the reflection of the choices you made today. So here's the question you've got to ask yourself. Are you going to keep waiting for the perfect moment? Or are you going to create the perfect moment by acting right now? Action transforms dreams into reality. And your time to act is not someday. It's today. Let me tell you something about life that a lot of people miss. Transformation doesn't just happen because you want it. Wishing doesn't change anything. Hoping doesn't move the needle. If you want to see your life completely different 6 months from now, you need a plan, yes. But more than that, you need clarity, you need consistency, and you need action. Weakest. Those 3 things are the foundation of real change. It starts with clarity because you can't hit a target you can't see. Most folks say they want to be successful or happy, but those words are empty until you define them. Success for you might mean getting out of debt, improving your health, or building stronger relationships. But if you don't take the time to sit down and get crystal clear, you're just drifting. And a drifting life doesn't transform, it survives. See, clarity is power. The clearer you are about your vision, the more energy you have to pursue it. When you know exactly what you want your life to look like 6 months from now, down to the way you feel when you wake up in the morning, the people you surround yourself with, the way you handle your money, suddenly your decisions have direction. You stop wasting time on things that don't serve you. You stop saying, yes, yes, to distractions. You start building boundaries because you know where you're going. Because you know where you're going and you're not willing to lose sight of it. But clarity by itself won't take you there. That's where consistency comes in. Consistency. Consistency is the bridge between your vision and your results. Anybody can be fired up for a week. Anybody can stay focused when it feels exciting. But true transformation comes from showing up day after day, even when it's boring, even when nobody's clapping, even when you don't feel like it. This is where most people fall short. They think success is about intensity, but intensity fades. It's consistency that compounds. It's the small daily habits, the reading, the workouts, the savings, the networking, that build momentum over time. And once momentum is on your side, things get easier. Opportunities come. Confidence grows. And that momentum becomes a force that pushes you further than you ever thought possible. But I want you to hear me on this. Consistency is not about perfection. You're going to miss days. You're going to slip, and that's okay. What matters is getting back up. What matters is keeping the pattern alive, even if it's not flawless. Because transformation doesn't require perfection. It requires persistence. Now let's talk about the piece that ties it all together: action. You can be clear on what you want. You can build habits and routines. But if you don't take bold action, nothing changes. Action is what brings your vision out of your head into reality. It's what turns someday into day one. The truth is, a lot of people never act because they're waiting to feel ready. But you'll never feel complete ready. The conditions will never be perfect. You've got to move anyway. You've got to launch the business before you know every step. You've got to walk into that gym. Even if you're nervous, you've got to make the call, send the email, apply for the job, write the first page. Action isn't about being fearless. It's about moving forward, even with fear in your pocket. And here's the beautiful part: action breeds confidence. People think confidence comes first, but it doesn't. Action creates experience. Experience builds confidence, and confidence fuels more action. That's the cycle. And once you step into it, you become unstoppable. Now picture this: 6 months from today, you could be standing in the exact same spot you're in right now. Same problems, same excuses, same routines. You could be looking at a version of yourself that's almost unrecognizable in the best way possible. Healthier, stronger, more disciplined, more fulfilled. That difference isn't going to come from luck or chance, waiting for the right moment. It's going to come from clarity, consistency, and action, stacked on top of each other, day by day, week by week. And it doesn't matter where you're starting. It doesn't matter how behind you feel, how many times you've failed, or how messy the road has been. 6 months is enough time to completely shift the trajectory of your life if you're willing to lock in. But here's the thing: you've got to decide. Nobody can want this for you. Nobody can do the work for you. This is your life, your vision, your responsibility. And 6 months from now, you're going to meet a version of yourself. Weakest? That person is either going to thank you for starting today, they're going to blame you for wasting more time. So what's it going to be? Because clarity creates power. Consistency builds momentum. And action transforms dreams into reality. Put those three together, and in 6 months, your life won't just be different, it'll be transformed.